I'd now like to recognize myself for 5 minutes for an opening statement. Good morning. Today we're going to continue our hearing series on the work of agency regulatory reform task forces. And we welcome representatives from the Department of the Interior, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Department of Energy to provide us with an update on their rollback of excessive, duplicative, and outdated regulations. Earlier this year, President Donald Trump issued Executive Orders 13771 and 13777 as part of a push to reduce the burdens that Federal regulators impose upon Americans. These executive orders required Federal agencies to repeal 2 regulations for every 1 new regulation they would like to impose. To help meet this requirement, the orders directed Federal agencies to establish a regulatory reform task force to review regulations and identify the ones that are unnecessary, impose excessive costs, or limit job growth. Over the last 2 months, the committee has heard from a number of agencies about the progress they've made on implementing these executive orders and their unprecedented efforts to take a fresh look at how our government regulates. My colleagues and I have been encouraged by what we've heard. For example, the Department of Education's task force uncovered a whopping 1,772 guidance documents, 600 of which were out of date or were interpreting laws that were no longer in effect. The Department of Agriculture reported during its first round of reviews, its task force composed almost entirely of career staff, identified over 275 regulatory and administrative recommendations to increase agency efficiency and reduce duplication. Agencies also testified how they've been able to reduce cost and the burden of their regulations while not compromising important health and safety considerations. For example, the folks at the Department of Health and Human Services testified that they're fulfilling their mission to remove burdens on patient-provider relationships. HHS personnel are also reassessing health care quality measures to ensure a focus on safety. The Department of Transportation representatives testified that as a result of their review, DOT is reducing unnecessary regulatory burdens and barriers to new technologies and saving the American public significant time and money while actually improving the safety and benefits of its regulations. This check on the massive regulatory state is long overdue. Our hardworking American taxpayers, landowners, small businesses, and individual consumers are counting on these agencies to get it right. As such, I'm confident my colleagues will respect the value of these agencies' efforts and our witnesses' time, and please remain focused on helping the committee evaluate the work of these task forces. To our witnesses today, I look forward to hearing about what your task forces have accomplished and how your work will encourage a more productive relationship with the regulated community, facilitate safe utilization of our resources, and incorporate the voices of states, localities, and tribes, and most importantly, save the American people time, money, and frustration. Which concludes my opening remarks. I'll now recognize the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Intergovernmental Affairs, Ms. Deming, for 5 minutes for her opening statement.
Good morning.